All right, today I'm going to be testing delaying my reach back like an extra amount. For a while, I've been trying to work on delaying my reach back more than what I normally do, because ideally, in my opinion, your reach back should be finishing and kind of still stretching as the brace heel is landing, and then the pull through is starting after that. And if your reach back finishes earlier, like before your brace toe lands, then it's very easy to start your pull through too early because you're just waiting around, and so it's very easy to jump the gun. I think, pull through a little bit too early. I used to think that as soon as you feel your brace landing, that was the right time to pull through. But what happens is I'm finishing my reach back a little bit early. My toe touches, as soon as I feel it, I start pulling through before my heel gets down. And I've also had issues with my brace where I'm staying on my toe for too long. I've been working on that as well, mostly just focusing on my brace power coming from this motion in this direction instead of thinking about bracing just against the forward momentum. And that's been helping my power and actually my spin too. And it brings the heel down faster when you focus on that bracing motion. That's for another video. But anyways, in order to delay my pull through so it happens at the right time, looks like I still need to focus on delaying my reach back even more to help with that, or focus on stretching the reach back for longer so I don't pull through earlier. So currently I focus on, I feel like I try to do like 25% or a little bit more of my coiling to delay without reaching back, and then finish the coiling and start reaching back, but it's still finishing a little bit early. So today I'm going to compare what if I try to do almost a full coil without reaching back, and then reaching back with just a little bit of last, extra coil happening. Compare that to as soon as I start coiling, reaching back as soon as I start coiling, which is what I used to do before trying to delay it more. Also, a quick little recap on some reach back thoughts. I have a whole long video on the reach back. I'll link in the description, reach back mechanics. I try to feel every part of the reach back as being away from the body, outward. So for example, if I put my arm in this power pocket position, the disc right now is next to the left of my chest because this shoulder angle here is about 90 degrees, and that results in the disc being towards the left of my chest. And this is like a power pocket position. If I coil without moving my arm, of course the disc stays in that spot left of my chest. And now the reach back, to get to the reach back from here, if I open my elbow, that's all outward away from my body. If I scapular protraction, stretch my arm from my shoulder away from my body, that's also away from my body. If I widen my shoulder angle more than 90, that's also away from my body. Every piece of the reach back feels away from the body. That helps to not reach around your body like this. So, highly recommend feeling everything going away from the body in the reach back. And as you coil, if you're right-handed, coiling is a counterclockwise motion, counterclockwise, and then reaching away is going against that motion. So it feels like it's opposing when you're coiling and reaching away from your body. And those two opposing motions kind of cancel out to make it look like somebody is reaching back even when they're reaching away. If I do it separately, coil, reach away, it looks like I'm just reaching away. If I do it together at the same time progressively, it kind of cancels out to look like I'm reaching back. People, that's what they see, the canceling out, reaching back, and if they try to do that directly, they just end up reaching like around themselves and collapsing their shoulder angle and starting out from a rounded position before they've even begun their pull through. All right, so I just warmed up, not throwing too hard today. Going to be doing a slow walk up as well in all of these. It's supposed to be a rest day. pretty sore and tired, so not expecting big numbers, but it's fine because I'm doing both of these comparisons, back to back. So should impact them similarly. And I think today I'm going to try alternating one throw with one style and then the other throw with the other style, so that I'm not getting more tired, for the second set, or sometimes even more likely probably to happen, getting more dialed in for the second set. As a reminder, the two things I'm going to compare: I wait for my X step to land before I start to coil. That's the timing for starting to coil that I see most common with pros. So starting to coil and reaching away at the same time versus trying to coil a lot and then reaching away at the very end.
In that last throw, I had some bad elbow dip, but just a reminder, you always want to compare to the shoulder plane to see if there's actually elbow dip, because we can see Eliezer here, it looks like the elbow's dipping, but when you compare it to the shoulder plane, it's not. It's just the shoulder plane is tilted. This is something I have to constantly work on, especially on harder throws, but I wasn't looking at the footage and trying to make the correction like I normally would, because my battery was running low and I was just trying to finish up this test here and not take too long. I was probably trying to pull too much, which makes it a lot easier to dip the elbow, and normally when I work on this I focus on internally rotating more actively during the pull through and trying to have my pull through feel like it's more outward in front of my chest instead of trying to pull it so much. On the topic of keeping the pull through outward, I'll link a short video in the description discussing that, called Out, Out, Out.
So it looks like my nose angle is unusually high today. This is probably messing with my timing a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that because it's a pretty easy fix for me if I focus on it, and I don't want to distract myself from what I'm trying to focus on.
Alright, so here are the throw sets compared. The average speed is pretty similar, and the max speed's also pretty similar. So overall, not a remarkable difference, I guess. However, in the throws where I was trying to start reaching back at the same time that I start to coil, I was still delaying the reach back kind of my normal amount. But I definitely wasn't delaying it as much as the throws where I was trying to delay it extra. So it seems like all of my recent practice to delay my reach back a little bit was effective, because I kept doing it even when I was trying to stop doing it. Had I been looking at the footage after each throw, I would have been able to correct that for this test though, probably. This also makes me think that the normal amount that I delay my reach back is enough, and trying to exaggerate it further is probably not worth it, and it does feel a little bit extreme and awkward to coil as much as I was without reaching back, kind of balance wise and just a little bit like disorienting. However, I still suspect my pull through starts a little bit too early in my normal form, and I think in some of these ones where I delayed my reach back an extra amount, it also delayed the pull through, but at least delaying the pull through this way didn't seem to have a significant impact on average speed.
All right, just a couple now where I'm not thinking too much about reach back timing, but instead of thinking about just continuing to reach back for longer to delay the pull through. So whether I start my reach back sooner or later, just focusing on trying to keep stretching it for a bit longer to let my brace fully land. This one's tough for me. Seems like I either really exaggerate it or I don't really do it. So I'm just curious to see how it compares.
All right, here are the stats compared for the third test. A bit higher speed average than the other ones, so maybe this is the better approach for reach back and pull through timing. I'll definitely be continuing to mess with this to see if it continues to perform better, or maybe I was just getting more dialed in for power as the session went on. Despite what I've said about the optimal reach back timing and problems with finishing the reach back early, I also have always thought that it's not the biggest problem to finish the reach back early if your pull through isn't also early, if you're not jumping the gun on your pull through, and if you're not also losing control of your reach back from it being early and then moving around too much, and if you're able to maintain that coil and reach back stretch and the connection between the two, then it's not much of an issue if you're finishing a reach back early. So in the cases where the reach back looks like it's finishing a little bit early, but it's staying under control and keeping a good stretch, it may be more important to focus on pull through timing rather than trying to perfect that peak reach back timing, since you can continue to keep a good stretch if it finishes a little bit early. So now that I finished the test throws that I wanted to, including the extra third tests, I'm doing a few extra throws, just messing with some other things while continuing to think about not rushing the pull through and instead continuing to stretch the reach back for a bit longer.
Same thing, but turning it out of briefcase on the reach back and then trying to turn it back into a briefcase during the pull through. Ooh. I yanked it a little bit.